Hello again, I'm Bob Henderson. I'm the Nomad Dad. I'm the father of the Nomad Capitalist, Andrew Henderson. Very proud of what Andrew's done, and I'm fascinated watching his videos on a daily basis. Hopefully, you'll find some of the things I have to say of value to you. I wanted to talk a little bit about my concerns about my home country, the United States. First of all, let me say, like many people in their home countries, I truly do love my country. I think over the years, I've probably taken it for granted a little bit, which is not so good, which may be one of the reasons that we're having the problems today, because too many Americans have taken it for granted. But I do love it, and and it's not just over the last few months, but over the last several years, there have been some times I feel like, well, two things I feel. Number one, I weep for my country and where it appears we're going, descending. And sometimes I say, I just don't want to live with some of these people anymore. And I don't mean that to sound rude. My goodness, even our friends and our spouses, we're never going to agree 100% of the time. But I think the key is we need to be respectful, and we need to encourage conversation. And when somebody on this side calls somebody on this side a name, you just stop the conversation dead in the tracks right there. You can't have a conversation after somebody calls you a name. And the only way you're going to fix things, and nobody's going to get 100% of what they want, is you've got to be able to have the ability to discuss things rationally, not think the other guy is someone to be hated. You have to think you have to think the best of your quote-unquote adversaries. You have to go into the line of fire, maybe be willing to take a few hits yourself to make your point and respectfully listen to the other person. Well, so in the United States today, we're having major problems, both financially, and this has been going on for quite some time. I mean, you can trace it back to the great financial crisis from 07 to 09. We've never recovered. The politicians have not had the guts to fix it. They've just kicked the can down the road, building the bubbles up more and more and more. And some people would say, Bob, don't be so naive. That's because the public doesn't want it fixed, because to fix it would be too cumbersome and painful. Well, the longer it goes, the more painful it's going to become eventually. And I think this is a major problem as far as the finances are concerned. The other problem, major problem, and this has been brewing for years, I would say, and I look at it from the perspective of somebody my age, this goes back to my high school years. We're looking 50 years. This has been brewing, and it's all coming to fruition in the last few years on the cultural front. And you've got everybody at each other's throats, and the name calling, and quite frankly, I think some of the lunacy that we're hearing. Everything seems to be upside down, and people, a lot of people don't understand why. If I said this 2 years ago, today it's a crime, or if I think the law should be upheld, but other people look the other way, and I'm criticized for my view. Well, that was the prevailing point of view not too long ago, but today it's a problem. I think a lot of people have a real issue with this, and the United States is having a very existential crisis. We are in the fourth turning, and as I discussed at Andrew's conference in Playa del Carmen in May of 2021, the fourth turning is a period of time, a season, when things get really dicey. And we are coming to the most dangerous portion of the fourth turning. There have been three in American history. That is the Revolutionary War period, 1775 to the end of the 1780s. And things were really good afterwards. The second fourth turning was the Civil War, 1860 and beyond. And we fought a bloody war, kind of worked things out. Things got better afterwards. We ascended to a new season called the High. And the last fourth turning in American history was the Great Depression of the 30s and World War II, of course, in the 1940s, a period of time when people thought they may not make it because of the Depression, that we may not win the war, that Hitler was going to win, at least early on. I get a lot of this from my 91-year-old mother who grew up during that period of time. And by the way, she'll be the first to tell you that as difficult as it was, she thought it was a better time to live in the country because people were pulling together to fight the Depression, to fight the Germans and the Japanese. She thinks by far this is the worst period of time she's lived. I lived throughout the 60s and all kinds of demonstrations and cultural problems, and it was difficult, but I would have to agree, there'd been nothing that comes close to what we're experiencing today. If history is any guide, we'll get through the fourth turning and what's on the other side is going to be a lot better, but it's going to be a lot different. But there's no guarantee that it's going to get a lot better. And so I think that this is the point in time as we're in this very dangerous period historically in the country where everything's up for grabs. This is the time maybe to reassess what you want to do to protect your finances and maybe your actual physical well-being in terms of your physical safety. I mean, I don't mean to sound alarmist, but my goodness. I wake up on a daily basis anymore wondering what's going to happen today that I didn't see coming out of left field. It's just absolute lunacy that seems to pass for normalcy today. And so these are the things that concern me about this great country. And why do so many people want to come to the United States if it's such a bad place? I've traveled around the world. I haven't been to 100 countries like Andrew, but I've traveled, and everybody, when they find out that you're an American, wants to talk to you. They all know who the president is. They may not know much about the president, but they all know. They talk to you about the country. They're thrilled with it, and they can't wait to come here to vacation and to tour. One of my favorite stories, Andrew's mother and I adopted a little girl from an orphanage in Moscow, Russia. She was born, her mother gave her up at birth, and our daughter was born a 2.5-pound preemie in, at best, a second world hospital. She's a survivor, and we got her when she was 8 years old, brought her to the United States, and she's a blessing. She's just absolutely wonderful and a survivor and loves the United States. To help her to learn her English, we brought an exchange student from Russia who was a 16-year-old young man. And I remember on Christmas Eve, we went to church, a midnight service, packed. He leaned over to me and he said, "Bob, these people in this church don't know how lucky they are." I've never forgotten that. I don't understand why Americans don't understand that. This young man's name was Roman. A couple quick funny stories about him. He tried to tell me that Russia was more free than the United States. I said, "Roman, why is that?" He says, "Bob, you don't understand. You can go to McDonald's and get a hamburger any time of the day. Here you have to wait till 11 o'clock. So that's why Russia was more free than the United States. I thought that was hysterical. Secondly, he was with us for 6 months, and I said, "Roman, it's time for you to go to your second host family." He says, "Where am I going?" I said, "You're going to Mars." You should have seen the look on his face. Well, in our town, there was a Mars Avenue. So he went to Mars, but not the Mars you think. But his comment, "Bob, these people don't know how lucky they are," has stuck with me for the last, 27 years, and I'll never forget it. This is what really concerns me about my country today. I doubt that it's too much different in some of the other legacy brand countries. Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, which we once thought we might want to move to. The time to think about what you might want to do is now. Perhaps you share my views, perhaps you don't, but we are at a critical juncture of the fourth turning. And if you haven't read The Fourth Turning, I highly suggest that you pick the book up. It was written in the late 1990s. One of the gentlemen is deceased now, but the authors are Strauss and Howe. And I know it's flying off the shelves. It's somewhat difficult to get sometimes because it's been highly recommended during these perilous times. So maybe a little more upbeat next time. I'm really happy you stopped by. I'm Bob Henderson, the Nomad Dad for the Nomad Capitalist.
How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.